Alright, so for this, I'm mostly going to be using my Magnus, and I'm going to be using a mostly unmodded yareli, right? And my Magnus, it's got 28% crit chance. That'll matter a little bit, but not that much. So, first, this, her passive, it's a pretty good passive. It's more of like a, on the side thing, though. It's not something to expressly run yareli for. But basically, you get that little buff in the top right whenever it's active. You just have to keep moving. You don't have to move much at all. So even this counts, right? And it just makes it so you have like 200% crit chance from a mod. It's not like the Arcane Avenger crit chance. And then if I don't have it, you can see get mostly white numbers. Alright, but the main reason that you should probably play Ureli is her one, which is the bubbles, it's these things, right? And that's because they apply damage vulnerability, right? So earlier I was doing 10 damage, now I'm doing 21. And on my crits I should be hitting, 58, which is pretty good bit. It's literally double what I was doing, right? Well, about double. So that's a pretty big deal. Um, And the reason that's such a big deal is actually because of one of her augments, right? Uh, this one, right? Because you're you can make it so that your two, your second ability, instead of you getting on the skateboard, you kind of like summon the skateboard, and it just chills there. But it also throws bubbles at the enemies, right? And that applies the same damage vulnerability, and it works with your bubbles. You can see I only have 4 here instead of the 5 that it normally makes. And the double damage from each one stacks. So instead I'm critting for 116 and hitting for 42 without crits, which is a very big damage buff compared to what most frames can put out. Uh, the main other way you would want to play her is actually with the other augment, uh, which is a bit more finicky. Unfortunately, you can't run both because they're for the same ability. And for this one, so I'm not going to show it because it's very, very difficult to proc on uh, in Simulacrum. It's just really inconvenient. But basically, you get on the skateboard like normal, but if you kill an enemy that's floating because it's in the bubbles, then you get a really big fire rate and reload speed buff. Oh, okay, my bad. If you kill an enemy that's in the bubbles, then it will heal your skateboard. And if it heals your skateboard, so like if your skateboard's at full health, it doesn't work, then you get a really big fire rate and reload speed buff, which is really, really, really strong for two main reasons, which is it does not scale with strength, right? So if I put on Intensify, you can see still says 200%, which may seem like a bad thing, but also you can put on negative strength, like with Overextended, and you still get your 200%, which is triple fire rate, triple reload speed, for the record. And it does scale with duration. So if I put on narrow-minded, you can see it's almost at 40 seconds. So you can essentially kill all of your strength and just have nothing but duration and range. And that's important because of her 4. So her 4, it's mostly a grouping tool. You can use it to do damage, but I'm not too sure how to make that work consistently yet, because it just doesn't do quite enough. So instead, you use it to group enemies. You cast it, and it'll suck all the enemies in. Pretty simple. It puts them in kind of like a vertical column whenever there's a lot of them, which can be a little inconvenient, but so long as the thing is actually out, it'll keep sucking up enemies, far as I know. Which is why duration and range are both really, really good for it. So, like I said, you can see they're kind of in a vertical column, and so if we kill these enemies and make more, then it should still suck them up. It is a smaller range whenever it like re-sucks them up, but well, I'm not too sure exactly how it works, but after like I think it's about like halfway through the duration, the range is like about half the grouping range. So what you normally would want to do then is you cast it again and it'll make it pop early. So you say it lasts 10 seconds, at around 5 seconds you pop it again, right? And then your next one it's another 5 seconds of grouping. And that's important because grouping is one of the biggest damage increases you can have in the game. So if we put on an explosive weapon, like my personal favorite, the Bosmu, right? It's got a small explosion AoE. It's not very big. So normally it doesn't really hit more than one enemy. But whenever you have a grouping tool like this, it can actually like hit more than one enemy. So what you're mostly looking at is you'll pop your 4, you'll have your little summon out, throw some bubbles in, and then you shoot into it, all of your explosions proc on everything, and it just does a generally pretty good amount of damage whenever you're like set up and all of that. Right now I'm actually on a like a stacking setup where all of my stuff on my boss move stacks up as I get kills, so it doesn't look very impressive right now, but normally it would look pretty good, I would say. Like, so if I summon the infested, something that's less tanky. Right? Um, Most of them are pretty dead. I killed 12 of them, which is pretty alright. Alright, and now that we have a few stacks, the same setup on the gunner should work a good bit better. So the main other thing is that you really, for most of your enemies, don't need to have all of your stacks up, or you don't need to stack both your skateboard bubbles and your normal bubbles. So that's just for like the really tanky enemies. So if we summon the gunners back, right, and let the skateboard do its thing, right, like the tanky enemies kind of just go away. Whereas if we were to summon like butchers, oh, that's Xmas. Then just the skateboard bubbles will be more than enough. Right? So what it'll look like normally is you'll kind of just play as normal. And then whenever you have like a gunner or something come in, you'll just throw your 1. It'll go ahead and pop them up. You'll kill the gunner. You kill everything else as normal. And then whenever you have like, say, an acolyte or any other kind of like pseudo boss spawn, then you put your 4 on top of them, and your explosions and your AoE like statuses and all of that, So like, for example, if you have electricity or if you have gas, all of that will hit the acolyte too. And that's how I've been playing her. So there are some other things that are worth talking about a little bit. So first, I haven't talked about her 3 at all. I would normally recommend just subsuming over it, putting something else there, but it does do a pretty okay amount of damage whenever you have priming. It's like if I proc some viral on this, it'll look a lot more impressive, but even then it's still not that good. It does have an augment, and the augment makes it kind of better. So it's Surging Blades, and there's two main things that are really weird about this augment to keep in mind. One is that if you have your compressor, which is supposed to be like her pistol, then what you can do is you can shoot a bubble and immediately, like, so the augment lets you throw these things, and if you immediately throw one in there, it kind of sticks there, and it'll continue to just stay there, just indefinitely. So what you can do is you can throw it on the ground, and then you can group enemies onto it with your 4. But also, the damage still isn't all that impressive. Even though, you know, it looks like it would be a lot more impressive, because you're getting a lot of slash procs, it's still not that crazy, right? So, the augment for her 3 is a thing that exists. Uh, I wouldn't recommend really building around it, at least not if you're going into some kind of like late game, like high level seal path or anything like that. I wouldn't recommend it. But for like normal exterminate missions, I could see that maybe working. The other thing is her 4 can actually do a pretty decent amount of damage. Because her 4 damage, if I remember right, it scales off of both of the bubbles. So if we put some strength on, right, that's probably enough. Then you can see some okay damage numbers. I think this one definitely could work better because you could hypothetically get better damage numbers than you'll see here because you could have more than 20 enemies out at a time. But uh, I don't think it's too terribly reliable. Oh, I should get some efficiency on this. So I didn't mention it earlier, but her this augment, it's how often it shoots the bubble scales off of your efficiency. So we're gonna put a little bit on here to try and like bring that back a bit, which that's probably fine enough. Right, so we've got some bubbles out, and this is probably still not going to be a huge damage number. Yeah, it's 27k. So, and it could work, maybe. I haven't figured out a good way to make it work. Uh, Probably your best bet would be to have some kind of like priming set up. So like if I get my epitaph here with secondary encumber, I already spawned them. Then maybe I could see it working. But, like, again, this is still significantly more damage than you'd normally expect, because you've got all of your bubbles on everything. And even then, it's still not particularly impressive, you know? So, I wouldn't really build around the 4 or the 3. I could maybe see a situation where one of the two could work, but I would mostly focus on the bubbles, because they are a very, very large damage increase. Like, so to really put into perspective how strong of a damage increase it is, since again it multiplies, right? So you do double damage with one, and you do 4 times damage with both, from the one and the two. So if we go to Mirage, and Mirage, it's okay. Mirage is, known pretty well as a pretty good frame for boosting up your weapon damage. This is Mirage makes you do 3 times damage, whereas yareli makes you do 4 times. So it's a little less convenient to use than Mirages, because Mirage you just, you put on the ability. But for yareli, it's a much bigger increase. So that's what I think you should be doing with her. So that comes with some downsides, that you need some good weapons for that. So the ones that I've been using the boar a lot. And so mine, it's just a pretty simple status setup. It's really good for AoE damage, and since yareli ha this is the wrong build. Since yareli has really good like single target buffing, it kind of just works together pretty well. Because for all of your normal enemies, right, the boar will just go ahead and take care of it for you. But then whenever you have a tougher enemy like one of these gunners, you can rely on yareli's ability to just buff all of your damage into the stratosphere. Like that. And it makes it do just a lot of single target damage when normally it kind of struggles in that situation. Because I'm also running a blast setup on my boar, I have Zada's Whisper subsumed over it, which makes the blast effects hit a second time, basically. And against groups, it goes insane. So we have our Zada's Whisper, pop all of our bubbles, then things disappear. The main problem being that it's kind of hard to proc your Incarnon once you proc Void on them. So that can be an issue to look out for. But other than that, I think this is a pretty good setup, because normally the board does really struggle with single target situations, and this is not that bad for it. Another thing is, so for the fire rate setup with the other augment, I've been using the Icarius, because normally the Icarius, it doesn't shoot too terribly fast, and it has that long reload, right? But whenever you have all of that fire rate and reload speed put onto it, which it's about like if you had a Gauss. So it's like if you have a Gauss, and, these are literally designed for Gauss, so it kind of just vomits explosions, which is pretty good. You do have a problem with running through your ammo really quickly, but, I mean, most explosive weapons have that issue right now. But that's pretty much all I have to say on it, which I guess was a lot.